Hey everybody, welcome to the In Between Podcast. This is your host Heido. Welcome to episode 6. And this episode is completely dedicated to Mortal Kombat. So all the people that have been asking for this episode, here it is. It's about to go crazy. Joining me today in the conversation is a good buddy of mine, John. John, how are you, my friend? Thank you for joining the conversation. Let's get right to it. So Johnny, how are you doing?
I'm doing very good actually. I'm very excited to talk about this film. I watched it last night and it was pretty good. I didn't mind it at all.
And so I definitely am not uh an expert when it comes to Mortal Kombat. I've played the games. I know a couple of the backstory, but my friend Johnny here, I consider an expert compared to my level. So whatever Jonathan says, take it as truth and fact. So if we get anything
Oh
wrong, just email him.
gosh.
I will drop his email on the
Send me hate
description.
mail.
So if you want to send us some hate mail, some cancel stuff, just you know
Oh
where to find
gosh.
him. So we're gonna go straight through it because I feel this conversation will be extensive, just because there's so much things to talk about. So one of the first things
Yes,
that I want to point
definitely.
out is that we heard about this film about a year ago, and without no content, no context, no clues, no nothing. There wasn't no teaser trailers. There were no pictures. There was nothing leaked. I believe we got the first trailer like a month ago, like 2 months ago, something like that. And so, as a fan, Johnny, of the film, of the first film, and the games, what was your expectation coming into this film?
Um, very, very much careful, careful optimism. I was carefully optimistic about this film because I mean, the last Mortal Kombat we filmed, the last one that we got was Annihilation, and I mean that one is such a terrible movie. It's a
That's
terrible adaptation,
it. Really
but it's
is.
also a terrible movie in its own right. It's just,
Yeah,
oh man. But
it's garbage.
so I was very, I wanted this movie to succeed because as a fan of Mortal Kombat, you just want Mortal Kombat on the film. You want the fatalities. You want those quirky moments that happen all the time in the video games. And it's something that you really need someone with a good vision in order to
Yeah,
actually execute it well. Um, since I found out about this film earlier last year, I think the only information that was really let out about it was like who was going to be the cast, like
yeah.
what characters were coming in, um, and who was going to be the cast. We didn't know really anything about this film.
No, definitely nothing. Everybody was, nothing. It was just we were in such an unknown place, especially because HBO Max says that they're dropping this whole bunch of movies, right, in their streaming service.
Right.
And then in the titles we get, in the list we get the title of Mortal Kombat. And I went crazy because I'm a huge fan of the first film. No matter how crappy it is, I mean, it's still Mortal Kombat. That
It's
it's
right.
it's
It's
the film of the
entertaining in
film.
its own right.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And so it's a good thing you brought Annihilation, because I wasn't even gonna bring it up. That's how crappy it is. If you're a true fan of Mortal Kombat, you have watched this movie and you sat through it just because you were a fan. But I mean,
Right, of
yeah,
Annihilation.
you would never recommend
Oh
this
man.
film, never. And I think the other good movie that we got, I believe it was 2019. It's Scorpion's Revenge, is the one we
The
got,
animated
the
movie,
animated one.
right?
Yeah, and that was pretty
Oh,
good.
right.
And so, after watching the movie, I felt like we watched the live action of Scorpion's Revenge. It's basically what the story was kind of throwing itself. A lot of shades of that in this film. But definitely, yeah, this movie. I like your wording, careful anticipation, just because we've been so wrong about so many things in the past as fans.
Yeah.
Whether it comes to
Yeah.
Marvel, if you're a DC fan, you've been, you've been
You've been
lied to,
deceived.
you've been deceived. And so when you talk about Mortal
Oh
Kombat,
yeah.
no matter how, maybe you're not a big fan of all the games, but you've played all the games, and there's love for all the games. But
Yeah.
when you talk about a movie, honestly, and I'll say this, Johnny, when I heard that they were remaking it, the first thing that came to my mind was live action Dragon Ball Z. And I was
Oof.
like, please do not let it be this bad. Please do not let
I
this movie
I
be
never
this bad.
thought it would be that bad because I mean I feel like the Dragon Ball Evolution and Annihilation are in like the same
Category.
category of not only being bad adaptations but terrible films.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely I never thought it was going to be that bad. It couldn't be that bad because Mortal Kombat has become so popular, especially with the newest game releasing, Mortal Kombat 11,
Yeah.
where it's just been so popular. So I know that I always knew it was going to be very careful in how they made the film, but even then, I was still, a little carefully optimistic about how it was going to turn out.
So before we get into any spoilers, before we get into any Easter eggs and any criticisms, your honest opinion on a level on a scale of 1 through 10, where would you rate the new movie?
Um, I would give it a 7 out of 10. I think that the action was very good.
Yeah.
The story suffered a little bit, but that could have been because of my own knowledge of the entire series as a whole,
Yeah.
and because it's so different from that. Uh, but the story was a little wonky.
It
It
was a
was
little
in some
wonky.
moments. It was a little wonky in some moments,
I,
but
I
the action
will
was really good.
I will say this: Cole Young was the most useless character ever. We could have had this movie without him being the central, and no hate towards the actor, because
Uh,
it looks like he put a
he
lot of
did he
work
did
into
well.
this. He
He
did
did well.
well, but yo, you don't fit here. You do not fit here,
On
and
it, yeah.
on a bigger scale when you compare everything, storylines happen in the games. He just didn't fit, and I
Yes,
just felt,
he's a brand new character
yeah. So and I
to
just
the
felt like,
series as a whole.
yeah, and I felt like they just forced him into the film. They forced us into liking him, and that bugged me a little, because the storyline, I believe the storyline suffered because of him,
Because of him.
because of him trying to explain
Yeah.
Scorpion's lineage, and that he had to defend. And I still don't completely get the whole Scorpion's knife that he had to see in his mind, and let the little wrappings fulfilled for Scorpion's spirit to come out from hell to serve vengeance upon Sub Zero. I still don't actually get how that works,
I
but
uh
you know, so you're the expert here. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
You tell me how that works.
No, that was definitely a new inclusion to this movie because I have no idea how it works. In the video games, in the original timeline, he is, when he is killed, he's brought back as a specter.
Spectre, yeah.
Yeah, he's brought back as a specter, and his only motive is to take revenge on Sub-Zero, and he was brought back by Quan Chi, which
Quan
wasn't
Chi.
in the film. But in the games, he is a specter created by Quan Chi to enact revenge on Sub-Zero. There's a whole reason why in the games, we're not gonna get into it.
No, right.
This whole podcast would be like 5 hours long.
We won't get to it right
But
now. I think, you know
okay,
what?
okay.
We might have to break this whole podcast into like a couple of episodes, just because there's so much stuff.
Right. Yeah,
So, all right. So your honest opinion was a 7 out of 10. I will give it a
yeah.
7.5 out of 10,
Oh, interesting.
just because we've waited so long for someone to redeem the franchise. And
Oh, yeah, in
this
movie
in
form,
movie form,
definitely.
so despite how Cole Young was so unnecessary here,
Okay,
you know
oh man, we're just, oh man, with Cole Young, like, n- he was very out of place. Uh, he was all right when he was interacting with the characters. He was most natural there.
Yeah.
But when we were with his family or when he was alone, it was very like, you're not a part of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
You don't really belong here. When he got his gold outfit, the little girl was like, oh, he looks so badass. He really did it. It was kind of like, it was a little, I feel like they could have done a little bit more with his design to make him
Yeah.
like actually iconic, but that
I
didn't happen. And yeah, it was.
I'm gonna say this. I was like, oh, I didn't know Aquaman was gonna be in the movie. That's my first thought when I saw him with his gold outfit. I was like, oh, I didn't know
Oh
Aquaman was gonna be
no.
in this movie. But okay,
Yeah,
I guess we
but
have a crossover.
he is definitely there for the mainstream audience
Yeah.
to connect with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what his purpose is for. He's pretty much
Of
the
course.
surrogate for the audience.
Yeah.
I feel that they could have used Takeda Takahashi instead of him, and that could have been way better because Takeda is like has a lot of issues. He has a lot of
Yes.
daddy issues. He has a lot of things that they could have played with, and it would have been cool having Takeda Takahashi on film. But I mean, that didn't end up happening.
No.
So it is what it is.
And we're gonna get in a little later. We're gonna talk about the differences between the movies and the characters that we're missing. So
Right, right.
with that being said, let's first talk about the difference between this movie and the first movie. Right off the bat, if we compared both films, obviously they're not going to be the same, but uh,
They're very different.
they're very different. But Mortal Kombat One, the movie, gave us a lot of info, characters that were missing in this movie, and we actually, and I think I'll talk about this now. We didn't get a tournament in this new movie, which we got a tournament in the first movie.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what do you think about
Um,
that?
the tournament is missing. The tournament is called Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat is not in Mortal
And
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat is not
So
Mortal
that
Kombat.
was the one thing that I guess this kind of ties into one of my complaints of the film, which we'll get really into later, I hope. But they kind of changed the whole movie when they didn't like the plot of the movie when they didn't have to. It could have just been preparation for the tournament, and then they could have given us this big tournament. But instead, they have Shang Tsung, um, invading Earthrealm,
Yeah.
which technically is illegal in the lore, and the
Yeah.
Elder Gods should have intervened.
And they would have
Um,
intervened.
and they would have
And they would have
intervened in
intervened.
other lore, as we've seen in
And
Mortal Kombat 9
yes.
when they intervene, and uh, even in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, they
Oh my
intervene.
God. Yes.
But but yeah, so it was a little strange. I'll excuse it because the action was so good, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of the main differences was the plot. Although there was certain story beats from the very first game, it was honestly it's a completely different experience from anything we've really seen from Mortal Kombat before. It was it was very different from anything we've. It was a completely different story that we know.
If I'm not wrong, in the first movie, no one got a symbol in their body to determine if they were champions for
No, in the
Earthrealm.
first movie, Raiden was proactive and he was seeking all of the.
He was proactive.
He was proactive and he was seeking all of the people.
He was actually
Uh,
berating and doing his job.
right. It was Raiden doing his job, and then it was also Shang Tsung who was like giving out invitations, like flyers to a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it was. Yeah. So
Yeah,
a big
because
change
the
in this
original
movie.
tournament.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, right.
So in this movie, I guess when we are introduced to Young Cold, he says that he's had the marking in his body since he was born, and
Right.
apparently, if you kill a champion, it transfers into you,
Which is how Kano got his
which is how
in the
Kano got
movie.
his in the movie, and that's how Sonya got hers at
Sonya
the end
gets hers.
by killing
Right, right,
Kano,
right,
right? And so
right.
that was so to me that was so bizarre that they did that. That they actually explain you getting invited to this tournament that we didn't even get. And you get invited by having a tattoo. So imagine you're a normal person, let's say you're an athlete, right? You practice
Right.
kung fu, karate. I don't know where one day you wake up and there you have a
You
symbol of a
have it,
dragon on your
right.
chest or on your arm, and automatically now you have to find your superpower, and now you have to go find and this and find a tournament and defend Earthrealm. Otherwise,
Right.
Outworld's gonna take over. So that was such a problem with the plot line to me, and so different
Yeah,
than the first movie because that that was something that they brought in and they made a huge deal about the tattoo of the dragon, which was
right.
unnecessary. You didn't need to do that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The one of the things from the games and from the movie, the original film, is the fact that everyone was there, but they were everyone but Liu Kang was pretty much forced to be there through different circumstances
Yeah.
that Shang Tsung himself devised so that everyone would be there. In the games, he kidnaps Jax so that Sonya has to be at the tournament. In the original movie, uh, he's she's there because Kano is there, and he's her arch nemesis, pretty much.
Yeah. And so she
Um,
gets she gets on that boat because Kano's on the boat.
right, right. So uh, the plot of the original movie, I feel like this new movie was trying to do something different so that it's not too wacky,
Yeah.
but it didn't realize that it's Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
so it's wacky to begin with.
Yeah.
It's not realistic, but they try to put a more like realistic edge to it. I'm guessing for the general audience so that they're not too confused, but I mean, I don't really think that the original movie was very confusing on why everyone was there to begin with. So, yeah, I mean, that was a really interesting change. And then they also introduced the Kato power system, which I'm okay. I'm okay. I feel like I'm okay with it, but it's unnecessary because everyone had their. It's kind of like in Dragon Ball where everyone can just do stuff because oh they're martial artists. Like
Yeah.
that's just what martial artists do.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Or if you're a monk, there's some stuff that you have secret knowledge
Right,
to, right? So,
right, right,
um, okay. So let's go here. And you said something. The world of Mortal Kombat's wonky as it is. It's so wonky that we have a character named Master Borracho, who's actually a drunk. If you put his name
right,
together as borracho in Spanish, which is
right, right.
translates to drunk. So,
Drunkard.
and they mention him. They drop his name in the movie, and I was like, please, 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 please let him be in the temple with Raiden, just hanging out or something. We didn't get him, so that brings me to my next point. And so here we go. What characters surprised you the most in this film?
Definitely Natara, who originally debuted in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and Reiko, who is originally from Mortal Kombat 4. These two characters, I mean, I don't think anyone expected them to be here.
No,
They're just so out of nowhere. I mean, they're not very popular
they're not.
characters.
What did I just tell you a little earlier today when we were getting together to shoot? I was like, "Hey, what about the Batgirl?" Because I totally
Right.
didn't know her name, and I feel a lot of people are just gonna
Right.
be like, "Oh yeah, the flying Batgirl who got chopped
Right. Like,
in
who's
half."
that?
Who's that? Batwoman in this movie? This is how crazy Mortal Kombat is. But okay, so yeah, those two characters were super unexpected. I
I
did
was
not
happy.
think. Yeah, of course, because as a true fan of someone who's played the games, and you expect little cameos like that of um of characters that you wouldn't think. They're so mainstream, right?
Right.
Like for
Right.
example, Master Boracho. I really wanted to see the drunk master fighting. I would have loved to see that. That surprised me the most, and a character that surprised me the most, and I think you're gonna agree with me a little bit here. The comic relief of the whole film had to be Kano. Kano was
Yeah.
freaking
He was
hilarious
amazing.
in this
He was my
movie.
favorite character in the movie.
He was so funny, and when I saw him in the trailer, I honestly had my doubts because I was like, I don't know. He doesn't really
Maybe
seem
it'll
like, yeah.
right.
I'm like, he doesn't really
Think
seem like
maybe
it's
he'll
gonna
be a
be
little too extra.
too extra. But then we get all like this funny comments and just him being sarcastic to people.
Right.
I think my favorite line had to be when they're going into Raiden's temple and um, dang, his name, I forgot his name. Liu Kang has a fire and he's about to open the door, and he said, he's like, "What? You're gonna make a door appear?" And then 1 second later, 2 seconds later, a door appears. He walks through and says, "Yeah, that was pretty good." So I was like, dude, like the way he was sarcastic, the way he would always had a comment at the right moments.
Yeah,
That was
I
good.
don't think I don't think they overplayed it. Definitely he was Kano from the games. I mean,
Yeah,
what
definitely.
else can you say? He was Kano from the games. They just gave him a lot more to say, which was I
Yeah,
thought it was hilarious. I
yeah.
would have loved to see like a Johnny Cage Kano fight. That would have
Oh
been too
man,
much.
can you imagine?
But
Oh man,
I'm
that would be
surprised
crazy.
Johnny Cage was not in this movie because he's one of the most popular characters in Mortal Kombat right now.
So I don't know
So,
if you've seen this, but there's a couple fans that are putting up the Miz from WWE as Johnny Cage. So if you don't know who the Miz is, do you know who the Miz is from WWE?
gosh, I'm not sure.
He's this over the
I
top character who he's a wrestler obviously, but
right.
he's been on a couple movies, and so in the world of wrestling he thinks himself above, and he thinks he's a superstar. He's like the next Vin Diesel or whatever. And so people
Right,
were like, this guy is a living Johnny Cage, like you should totally have him as Johnny Cage. So
right.
many people are making the case for him to be Johnny Cage. We did see a tag for him at the end of the movie.
At the very end of
At
the
the
movie,
very
yeah,
end of the movie, we didn't
a
see the
teaser.
face. We just saw half the body. So,
Right.
if there's gonna be a sequel, which I believe there is, we haven't confirmed that there's gonna be a
100%.
sequel, but
I
I'm
think
sure
that
there
this
are.
movie's already been very successful.
Yeah, and so I believe we're definitely gonna see Johnny Cage, and maybe we're gonna see Liu Kang or Raiden actually go show up and get him into the film. Another character, and this is, and I know from because I know you quite well. This you're gonna be like, where was this character, Katana?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I
I
knew,
was so sad. Oh gosh.
I knew I was gonna
Listen,
get
if
that
they
reaction from you.
it will be redeemed if she shows up in the next movie
Yeah,
as evil in the beginning and then slowly through the movie she becomes good. Everything will be excused, but
with
that was not okay not
yeah,
having Katana in the movie. We did get Melina, and she was
yeah,
pretty cool, not gonna lie.
yes.
But my favorite character of Mortal Kombat is Katana, and the only thing we got from her in this movie is her fans in the
It's her fan
background.
in
It
the
was one of the
background.
Easter
Yeah,
eggs.
and one of the Easter eggs. Yeah. So talking about Melina, what about that special effect with her teeth? Because in the games,
Um,
it's obviously in the game, even one of her fatalities is that she opens her mouth and she literally eats you, right? Um,
right.
and so the way they did this film is that you can see that she's got some ugly teeth, but then when you get
Uh-huh.
closer and she's like, I guess at some point when she releases her true power, her
Right.
lips just like open up, and then like there's this extra set of teeth that just like pop up.
Right.
I
Right.
thought that was so well made, and I was looking
I
forward
thought it
to
was
that.
great. It was
Yeah,
kind of disgusting how her skin kind of just like tore
yeah,
open
yeah.
and like, ugh.
I don't know
It
if
was
you ever
good. It was
seen.
Melina.
Have you ever seen the cut scenes from Lord of the Rings: Return of the King? There's a scene where they have the mouth of Sauron, and this
Oh gosh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and this
It
character
reminded you of him?
it reminded me of him because every time he talks, his lips just break and bleed and are cut open,
Right, right.
and as soon as she does that with her mouth, it just reminded me of that. It makes me wonder if maybe that was a reference to that character, because we do get Gandalf dropped, you know so it's like,
Yeah.
so Mortal Kombat world, that universe is aware of Lord of the Rings, so
It's
Tolkien
set
exists in
right,
Mortal
right.
Kombat.
I Token confirmed.
Tolkien confirmed he
Y-
exists in Mortal
yeah,
Kombat.
no, it's because in this in this film, they're trying to be more realistic, so it's set in the real world.
Yeah,
And that's where we get Cole Young or Young Cole or whatever his name is.
yeah. and I believe Kano drops the Gandalf reference in the movie too.
It
Um,
would have to be
and
Kano. Who
actually,
else would it be?
I don't know if you're up to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you're not, I won't spoil it. But even Gandalf got dropped into that series as well. So, I'm as a Tolkien fan who's read Lord of the Rings so many times. I'm just so glad
Just
to see that.
rejoicing.
Yeah, I'm just so glad to see that recognition being thrown around
That
and
love,
that
yeah,
love for Tolkien. Yeah. What about Sonya Blade? What do you think? How did this movie did her justice? Which honestly, I'll say this, and I'll start the conversation this way. I believe this movie, despite her power reveal at the end, because that was a little sucky, but the way they set her up to be this badass woman, was a lot better than the first film. Because in the first film, when she fights with Kano, you can tell that that fight is so fake. Like you can tell she's weak, but in this movie, you can actually like, okay, this girl can hold her own against Kano, and we know
right,
that
right,
Kano is such an experienced fighter. He's a leader, right? So he's not just any guy you would mess with. And to see her actually stand her ground and not to see like the fake kick, the fake punch, right? And
right,
nothing
right.
over the scene. It was just perfect close counter attacks. What do you think about Sonya Blade?
Uh, I definitely think that it was more closer to Sonya Blade as we know her today in the video games. And I think that Sonya Blade in the original was a lot more tied to how we knew her back in the 90s when
Yeah,
she was meant to be this very badass woman who's also extremely like played for her sexiness and for her body. And I think that the original movie put that aspect very well into the film. And I feel like this movie did her a lot more justice though, and it did show a lot more of her badass side.
yeah.
I think that the original Sonya was amazing and she's
Mm-hmm.
iconic,
Mm-hmm.
but this Sonya is she's really good too. She is definitely very funny. She
Mm-hmm.
has great lines. She's in the film a lot, which is good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
she can definitely kick a lot of ass and hold her own, and I think I thought that was really cool.
Um,
I think Sonya was very well written in this movie.
yeah, definitely agree with that. As someone who has actually played uh Mortal Kombat against you so many times, and I'm not afraid to admit that I've lost to this man so many times. And it's embarrassing the way I lose. I think there was this one time we played that I got no hits in. He gave me no mercy. Um, and I think if you remember from our times playing, we always do this, whether we realize it or not. We always either pick Sub Zero. We always pick Sub Zero and Scorpion. So the first 7 minutes of this film was Scorpion versus
Oh
Sub
wow,
Zero.
the first 7 minutes.
The first seven
I
minutes was
mean,
iconic in this movie because
it
of
was
that.
beautiful. I think that, and I wish this would have stayed. The film overall was very nice to look at,
Mm-hmm.
but the first 7 or so minutes were very beautiful. They
Yeah.
were very cinematic and very artsy, and they were trying to do something very out of the norm than what we would associate from Mortal Kombat. My favorite shot of the film is the shot of the plants, like the close up on the plants,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like blood. It's bloody and it's trickling blood, and then it starts to rain. I was like, this movie is very beautiful to look at.
a
They
true
knew
a
what they were
true Mortal
doing.
Kombat fan would appreciate your comment with the blood raining and saying that this is a beautiful movie. I mean, someone who doesn't
It was
know
beautiful.
if this podcast gets out and they cut that snippet of rain is blood is raining and it's beautiful, people would think we're psychos. With that being said, because that line doesn't
Oh
fit anywhere
man.
else. Like you will never see blood raining in Marvels or the Avengers or even the DC
Right, right.
universe. You never see that, but Mortal Kombat did that. And going back with Sub Zero, um, oh, did that eyes did not look real. That was so amazing. Like the ice when we get the first reveal of Sub Zero,
Right.
and the ice coming out of his hand, and how it's like
Was
as
it
it's coming out, it
right?
was bleeding,
Right.
right? I was like,
Oh gosh,
yo,
so that wasn't just me.
no, no, no,
I
that was blood.
realized that like okay, so when the ice was coming out, like I could see that it was actually affecting him, which was
Yeah,
interesting because we don't ever see that in the
no,
games.
never.
Because in the games, I mean, he's the master of ice.
Hmm.
He's a cryomancer, so his arms in the games are typically just ice,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and so we never see the effect that it has on his body, which it should, because realistically, I mean, if ice is coming out you like that, it should do that to your body. So it was great. He was Sub-Zero was great in this
Sub
movie.
Zero was
I'm
really great.
yeah, we
Um,
don't typically get an evil Sub-Zero in the games because a lot of the time we're playing as the younger brother of Sub-Zero as
yeah,
Kuai Liang.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, this film gave us Bihan, and he is just evil, and that's how he is in the first game and in the game Mortal Kombat Mythologies. He's not a good person. He's very evil, and I'm happy to see evil Sub-Zero.
And when he dies in this film, so spoiler alert for someone who hasn't watched it. So if you're here listening to this podcast, it's because I'm sure you already saw the movie, so you're here for that.
Right,
So hopefully I'm not spoiling anything. Please don't send any hate mail. Anyways, when he dies in the film, you see like this black thing just suck them in, and you know what's coming next. You know who's he turning into in the next film. You
yeah,
know what's coming. I was like,
we
I was
know.
like, no,
Noob
they're gonna pull this
Saibot.
off. Noob Sabat, they're gonna pull this off. They're gonna pull this off. I was like, I was so excited for that. Um, let's go back to Scorpion. Um, what an awesome way to write in my favorite move, which is the spear.
The
You know,
good over
get over
here.
here, and to see
That
him
was
use
great.
it without superpowers per se, right? To see him use it, I believe at the beginning of the film they were using that
Right.
thing to make holes to plant to plant trees, and then he takes it, ties the rope, and then he just goes completely insane with that thing.
Right.
And I thought that was such a good thing they did to that,
It
because
was great. It was
when you
great.
think of Scorpion, you think of that. You think of that
Yeah,
spear. You think of that
yeah,
spearhead
100%.
coming at you and him screaming, "Get over here!" Right? Pulls you in and then kicks your butt. Um, and so that
I'm
was
very
such a good
glad that
moment.
they executed that very well because there's certain moments of the movie where if they didn't have the right actors, it would have been very cringy.
And this,
And
yeah,
that was one of those moments to get over here where
yeah.
if they didn't do it just right, it would have been like, "Ugh," like that wasn't very satisfying.
Do you remember the first time they did that in the first film when Johnny Cage goes into hell
Right,
and you see Scorpion put his hand out like that, and you just see open up, and it's like he has teeth, and then the spearhead comes out, and
right.
it's like a snake. That was so bizarre and weird, but then they pull it off in this one. I don't. I in this film, I don't see his hand opening up, coming out like that.
No,
Um,
it's an actual spear.
it's an actual spear. So I thought they did that. That came out so good, with Scorpion. And let's talk about this when he kills Sub Zero, and he takes off his mask to do to do, yes, yes,
Gosh,
yes.
if I was in the theater when I saw that, I would have yelled "Toasty" because like that's what it was.
Definitely. And
Oh
then
man,
I believe when he does that in the games, his whole head turns into a skull, right?
yeah, Flaming Skull.
Flaming skull. But here we only see half of his face turn into a skull.
Right,
Just you see the top part, and I was like, that little part was filled with so many Easter eggs. Not only the games, the first film, but just Scorpion in general, right? So
right.
they did so much justice to Scorpion and Sub Zero.
Yeah, he was great. He was great.
Um,
They were both very good. Sub
yes.
Zero, honestly, if they didn't have Shang Tsung, he would have been a very good main villain.
Oh yeah.
They wrote him very well in this film.
I would have loved just Sub Zero going around the whole movie trying to kill the champions without having
Right.
Shunsung or any other of the other underlying plot lines in there. I would have loved that because he was so well written. Um, I will say this: the one character that I was surprised by, and not in a positive way, but a little bit
Oh
negative.
no.
Liu Kang. When I
Oh,
when I
okay.
think
It's just been.
when I think of Liu Kang, I think of someone who's a little more confident.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
I could see that.
in this movie he was a little more childish. Like he hadn't matured enough. Like he was a little stuck up. Like when he goes and tells when he goes and tells Sonya, "Hey, if you don't have the mark, you can stay and watch, but you're just a liability." He would have never said that in the games. I'm sorry. He would have never said that. So
Yeah, I agree.
so I'm sure they did that because of the whole underlying storyline and plot line of, hey, you need to have a mark to be here, whatever.
Yeah, Marcato,
But
all that stuff.
you could have maybe you could have used Kung Lao to say that because he is a little bit more of a jerk even in the games, more
Oh yeah,
than Liu Kang. But so I just felt um like this character really didn't find himself in this film. You know?
yeah. I have to agree with you a little bit on that because I mean, when he showed up, it was very Liu Kang. It was a very good
Yeah,
introduction. He was very poised. He was very confident. He was very chilled out and like very like you. He was very in control the whole time that he was introduced.
yeah.
And I mean, that was Liu Kang. For me, that was Liu Kang. It wasn't until the battle scenes where it was kind of weird that he was getting beat up because Liu Kang is the champion of Mortal Kombat, and he's just kind of supposed to be this overpowered character.
Especially
And
by
then
the
he was
character he was getting beat by.
yeah, he was getting beat up by Cabal, which is like
Johnny
he's
Cage can beat
not
up
very
Cabal.
right. Like Cabal is not very strong
No,
in the games at all, and
he's just
Liu
fast,
Kang is
but he's not strong.
Liu Kang is top tier in the
Yeah,
games. So it was very strange to see that Liu Kang was getting beat up, and definitely it was weird because I feel like they had to give a lot of Liu Kang shine to the new character, Young,
oh, okay.
because
again,
they
we
had
come to
to.
hey, your character was kind of useless in this movie.
Right.
So I at first when I saw the trailer, the first trailer, I thought that Scorpion was gonna be Jung Ho. I thought that somewhere in the movie maybe Scorpion's spirit was gonna go into him and he was gonna turn into
Right.
Scorpion. I think that would have made a little more sense. Um, if we think about it, that would have made a little more sense. But so you see what I mean about the character of Liu Kang not being
Yeah, yeah.
completely found in this film
No,
because of that.
100%, 100%.
Um, so Cabal kicked his butt. I was like, really? I mean, they should have put him against Shang Tsung, and maybe that would have been a little more credible, right?
Even Sub-Zero kicked his butt. Sub-Zero almost killed him if it
Yes.
wasn't for a really cool moment from Kung Lao. Not even gonna lie. That introduction was really, really
Oh
cool.
yeah. Let's talk about Kung Lao then.
Okay.
Dang, we got so hyped up for him, and then
He was great.
he
He was
dies,
great.
and then he
Oh
dies.
man, yeah.
He
That was
exit way too quick. It's like
that was very upsetting
it
to be
was.
very honest
It was.
because I knew what they were going for before they killed him, of course.
Yeah.
But I knew what they were going for because in this move in they really take off of that plot line in the games where he is so kind of pompous because he is the descendant from the great Kung Lao, which was the original champion of Earthrealm's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So I thought that that was a great direction that they kept in this film where hell yeah, he is cocky, he is very childish in some regards, but he can still kick a lot of ass. And like he still has a lot to back it up. He's not just, this pompous brat and
Yeah.
nothing else. Like no, he's just enough confident. He's not overconfident. He's
He was
just
too
enough.
cocky. He was too cocky in this film,
He was very cocky. He
and that's
was,
what
but
got him
that's
killed.
kind of how Kung Lao is, right?
But that's what got
That's
him
kind of
killed.
is. Oh yeah,
That's what got him killed. Dude, you were too cocky. Like we know you're a badass, but you're too cocky. But I mean,
oh
other than
god,
that, I thought of about it when I saw him and I saw the hat flying in that scene where he
right.
saves Liu Kang, and I was like, yo, did they not just pull this off? And then, you know,
I know they did.
the intro in every game when he comes in and you're gonna fight with him, the hat pops up and he's under the hat, right?
Right.
And they pull that off, and it looks
It
so
was
smooth.
great. It looked good.
It
It looked
looks
very
so
good.
smooth, dude. I actually, I got up of my seat and I was like, yes, because it looks so good. It was credible. It was
It looked
very
great.
credible.
It looked great.
It was very credible. So before we move on, one last character I want to touch in because he was in the movie, and I feel like a lot of times he's never given a lot of credit, and he's a
Oh
really good
gosh, I know
character.
who.
Jax.
I know who.
Jax.
Oh,
He's oh,
never
never
mind.
mind.
I thought we were going somewhere else.
Who were you thinking of?
I thought we were going to talk about. I thought we were going to talk about Raiden because they.
Oh, okay. Well, before we get to rating, because yeah, I did have him in my notes,
Okay,
but
okay,
I was
okay.
gonna talk about him later. But okay,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
let's talk about Jax because I think he's always like underestimated, and sometimes
He's
even
always been Sonya's sidekick.
exactly. But he in his own right, he's really good. He's really
Yeah,
good.
definitely.
Um,
I thought he was great in this movie.
so what can you tell me about the metallic baby arms he got in this film?
Uh, it was very bizarre,
That was a
and I
strange concept, to be
definitely.
honest.
It was bizarre. I would have, when his arms transformed into like the actual Jack's arms, I didn't like that
No,
because
no.
it didn't make any sense how, because the whole time, I mean, the dragon thing and like all of that, it's in this movie, it's made to seem natural. Like this is just another element of life
Hmm.
that some people have, but that when you introduce, I mean, Jax's arms they're not natural, they're mechanical. So when they just came out as if there's like flesh or something, I would have been more happy if he had like a cyborg thing going on, where if
Yes.
it was like his flesh coming back and like
Hmm.
merging with the technology. That would have been really cool. That would have made sense, and it would have been something that we've never seen from Jax before. Uh, it was very bizarre that it was just like he was transforming or something. It was like, what was going on?
Did you ever see Deadpool, the first one?
Uh, yeah, when
When
he
he's
gets
got the
his arms
little
chopped off.
yeah, and he's got the little
Yeah,
baby arm. That's what he looked to me. He got the little baby metallic arms, and so
yeah, it was a
another
little
thing that I want to
strange.
point out, when you get the dragon insignia in your skin, you get, that tells you that you're gonna get superpowers, and you just gotta find them.
Right.
It basically, this movie is, it tells you that you're gonna find your super strength or your super powers
Like
when
your Hado, they call it in the
what
movie.
is it? What is it called?
The Hado?
The Hado. Okay, so you
Yeah.
find your Hado. Did I say that right?
Hado or Kado, I don't
Or
remember.
Karo.
I
So
one of those two.
yeah, which it's so irrelevant because they never use that in the games. But anyways, um, you find your superpower when I guess you're at at the most stressed moment of your life, and it
Right,
comes out
right.
right. So, but okay, so he gets metallic arms. So don't you think that they kind of undid what they set up? Because I mean, the dragon insignia didn't give him metallic arms. It was the monks. So his superpowers depended on the monks.
Yeah, it was very, it's just for Jax. For everyone else, it was kind of consistent, but it was very inconsistent for
Yeah,
his Kado or Hado or whatever to be the metallic arms. That
that didn't
didn't
make
make
sense.
much sense because
Yeah,
it doesn't even make sense narratively because his whole thing was that he hated the arms because they weren't him,
they weren't him. Yeah,
and that plot element is in the games as well. So again, it would have made much more sense if he like regrew back his arms, but they had like a cyborg aesthetic to him because of the arms he already had.
yeah,
So it did kind of, I don't want to say it's a plot hole, more of a very large inconsistency
yeah, yeah.
that his Kato was metallic arms instead of superpowers. So that was very weird.
So let's talk about Raiden then. So I mean,
Very underused.
very, very, very underused. And
He
I
shouldn't
even
even have been in the movie.
He was so pointless. He was just there being sarcastic too, and just making people feel bad. And
Right.
I don't know if this happens to you, but whenever I played with rating in the games, I always have a hard time playing with him. For some reason, maybe it's just I just can't get my combinations right,
He's
and I don't
No,
know.
he's very weird to play as, especially in the newer games from
Yeah.
9 onward. He's
Hmm.
been very, very weird to play as. He's like kind of slow, but then also doesn't have that much power to him to like back that slowness up.
Yeah.
And then his combinations are always very wacky as well.
Yeah, they're very wacky, and then están como al revés. Like for the most part, everyone in the games have the same sort of combinations that you can
Right.
play with any other character, and you'll be fine whether if you practice or not. But when you get to rating,
Right.
it's just so weird. It's completely
Inverted
different. It's
controls.
inverted controls, and you're sitting there like, what? Like earlier today, I was playing
Right.
Mortal Kombat. I was playing MK11, and I was trying to play with Raiden. I couldn't do it. I got my butt kicked because it was so inverted. It wasn't until like the second try that I actually like remember. Oh, okay, this. And so
Right.
I think that just kind of mirror in the game. Just how weird is this character? We know he's so powerful, but still he's so
He
weirdly
doesn't do
used. He
anything.
doesn't do
Yeah, on
anything.
it, he was honestly, I'm gonna make a big statement, a bold claim right here. I think he was more useless and more of a stick in the mud and more of a like a sore thumb than young Cole.
Oh no.
Because at least young Cole had a purpose in this movie.
Yeah.
All Raiden did was set up the barrier, and that was it. That's all he did in the movie. It was just, and then they changed him into an elder god, and that was their justification for
Mm,
like, oh, that's why he's not doing anything.
yeah.
But that makes
No
no
sense.
sense.
It makes no sense.
Like,
I
okay, in my knowledge, in my maybe it makes sense in the context of the film, but with my knowledge of who I know Raiden as, that just makes absolutely no sense because
mhm,
in the games he's a god of the earth. He's one of the four gods of the earth.
yeah.
He's a protector god. Like there's a whole hierarchy that it's the protector gods and then the elder gods and then after that it's the one being.
Yeah.
But it was very strange that he was just an elder god and that was that. He, like I don't know how to explain it very well, but it was so weird because I mean in the games he even gave up his role as an elder god in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance so that he could come back and actually do something on Earth.
Yeah.
And then in this game he acts a lot like an elder god.
Hmm. No, he
In the
does.
games, the elder
He
gods
does.
are very terrible beings who are
Yeah.
very selfish, don't care, apathetic. They're terrible and quite frankly useless in the plot. And
Uh,
that was him.
I mean, MK11, he gave up his powers, right? He gave up his powers towards the end so they can beat Centurion. No,
uh, no, not Cetrion.
her mom. Dang.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, what's her name?
Jesus, I just put us both in a really bad
Brain
spot.
fart. Brain fart.
I
Uh,
just put us both in a really
gosh,
bad spot. Jesus, it's not Centurion.
it's a very similar name
It's a
to.
yeah. It's a yeah. Okay.
I want to say
Quintessa? No, it's not Quintessa.
it's not Chromatica. That's the name of Lady Gaga's new
Oh
album, but it's
no.
similar to that. It's similar to that.
Oh,
Chronica. There you
Chronica. There
go.
you go. We were close. We were somewhere. We were somewhere in the park. Um, so he gave up in the game in MK11. If you haven't played it, for those listening, Raiden gives up his power to give to Liu Kang, and this is why I was telling you, like, I hate that they did that to Liu Kang. When Liu Kang now in the games, he's like a god. He is a god. You know,
Yeah,
he's a god.
he's pretty much the god of all of time right now
All of
at the end
time
of the game.
and thunder. Don't forget that.
And fire.
Lightning and fire. So yeah, he's a triple threat.
He's OP right now.
Yeah, he's OP. So I hated that they did that, and they did that to Raiden. Um, Raiden, he just came into this film to do the Gandalf "You shall not pass"
Pretty
thing,
much.
and
And
that
not
was
even
it.
that works.
and that didn't even work. And that brings me to this last character, Shang Tsung. What do you think
I
about Shang
liked him.
Tsung? I
I
did
liked him.
too. He
I don't know
was
what they did with the. I don't know what contact lenses they put on him, but
yeah.
it was scary. But I was here for it.
And
He
that's what I
was.
was gonna say. The first Shang Tsung we get in the movie, I mean, and he came back in MK11 as a cameo, dude. That was awesome. He was good. But then this guy comes
Yeah,
in and he's creepy and malevolent and evil and malice, and then you can tell this guy drinks evil
he
for
means
breakfast.
he
You know,
means business.
he means business, and dude, his robe was awesome. That just like
I
his
loved
whole
his costume.
his long
He
hair,
looked like a
dude.
Chinese emperor. He looked
Yes,
great. He looked great.
he fit the bill so well as Shansung, and I had my
100%.
doubts. So I don't know if you ever seen any movies with that character. He was the bad guy, and he was the accountant in The Dark Knight. Where he was, so I've seen him do roles as a bad guy before. I saw him in a Netflix show, Marco Polo. In the first season of that show, he was the bad
Uh-huh.
guy too, and he was doing karate scenes in that film. So Kung Fu scene, sorry. And so now that they bring
Right.
him in as Shang Tsung, I was like, yo, I want to see what they did with him. And I love the fact, even though rest in peace, F in the chat for Kung Lao, but dude, that was awesome to see him sucking his soul.
The soul
Yeah.
sucker. Oh wow, that was great. That was such a
So
that was
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
That was so this brings me to my next point. Easter eggs for fatalities. You obviously know a lot more about this when more than me when it comes to fatalities. So, what out of the top?
uh,
I don't know if you took notes on this, but
I took a
from
lot of
your
notes.
okay from your head, what can you tell me about the fatalities performed in this film?
A lot of them were very reminiscent. Do you want me to go into specific examples, or do you want me to do an overview and
Just
then
go right at
specific?
whatever notes you got, my man. Do it.
Okay. Well, a lot of them were very reminiscent of the original trilogy of Mortal Kombat, and so a lot of the fatalities that the characters will do are from those games. There was some new ones. I will talk about that. Uh,
Yeah.
and some of them were more reminiscent on the newer games, so it was just fatality galore everywhere. So I think I have every single fatality here, and we're gonna break those down really quickly.
Go.
So let's see. The very first fatality goes to Kano. Um, and let me see. Oh gosh, where did my notes go?
When
Uh,
Kano rips out the heart of
okay,
Reptile.
okay. Yeah, so Kano does his still beating heart fatality for Mortal Kombat 1. It was his very first fatality, and he does it on Reptile, and it was great. And it was, oh gosh, when I saw that, I was like, you know what? This movie is going to be great. Like, it was already going really well, but I knew they were doing something else with the fatalities.
So let me point this
That
out.
was,
We didn't get a tournament, but I'm happy we got fatalities. We didn't get a
oh,
tournament, but
100%.
I'm happy we got
100%.
fatalities. So, well, we didn't talk about Reptile. Reptile was pretty good in this film. He was good.
I am a little sad that he didn't show up a lot. Uh, he showed up for maybe one scene, I think.
And it was like five
But
minutes
his
long.
design, his design was pretty much the design from Deadly Alliance, where he's
Hmm.
just a
A
reptile. He's
reptile.
just a big lizard.
I would have
An
loved.
Easter egg for Reptile, they
Uh,
actually name dropped his name, which I have it in my notes. It was Syzoth. They name dropped his
oh
real name,
yes,
and I thought that was a cool thing because I mean nobody really knows.
it threw me off actually. I was like when they dropped his name, I was like Cysox. Like, oh, that's Reptile, and it made me. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right. So you're doing Easter eggs for people that actually know what the heck you're talking about. Um,
right,
you know
right.
what I would have loved to see with Reptile's character is I would have loved to see him show up as a human and then just like transform into a reptile, just to
Yeah,
give.
I think a lot of memes are gonna pop up from from just the general audience. They're not gonna they're not gonna understand that reptiles typically like a
Yeah,
humanoid ninja. But
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this
yeah.
film, they just decided to go full on reptile, which he does appear in some of the games,
So
but
in the
it's not his
games,
usual appearance.
the ninjas. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the games is the ninjas are Sub Zero, Scorpion,
Sub-Zero.
uh, Rain, and Reptile. Right? There's four. Right?
Uh, there's a couple, so it's there's a lot. There's
There's a lot.
Scorpion,
Okay.
Sub-Zero, Reptile, Smoke,
Oh,
Rain,
Smoke.
Noob Saibot, Ermac,
Okay.
and
See, I was wrong.
I think
He's
that's
an expert.
I think that's it. And Tremor too, but he yeah, Tremor too.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. Okay, so yeah, so I would have loved to see him as an actual ninja first, and then turn into reptile. I mean, but I'm pretty sure CGI was already expensive as it is.
Right.
To have a
That's one thing
reptile.
that the original gets over over this movie. It has
Yeah,
both.
it had both. It really did. Yeah. So, HBO Max, you should have dropped a little more money on this movie to have that. So maybe if he comes back, he'll
Oh,
transform. So okay,
oh
so
god.
that's the first fatality we get, which is Kano killing Reptile. What else you
Right.
got?
The second fatality is way later during the final battle is Kung Lao's fatality on Itara,
Ooh.
which this is the very similar to the face grind fatality from Mortal Kombat 10,
Yeah.
when he throws the hat and it's spinning and then he just like stomps on their face and they like cuts them in half. It was very similar.
In
That was
MK in MK11
disgusting.
in MK11, don't they call that one the meat slicer? Or is
I
that a
don't
different
know.
one?
This one's from Mortal Kombat X.
Okay. I'm confusing my
Yeah,
fatalities. But okay, so yeah, I think you and I have played Mortal Kombat X. I think we
yeah,
actually
yeah.
didn't we hold
We
a tournament with a couple of our friends
yeah
before
for hype
MK11
season for
dropped,
Mortal Kombat 11. Yeah,
just before it hyped,
yeah, we did.
just to hype us before that. And I think yeah, that
Yeah,
was one of the fatalities. So I I'll say this. I was happy they actually. This is gonna sound super cynical, and I'm gonna sound like a crazy person, but I was so happy when I saw that fatality,
oh,
just because it
100%.
was
When she
so
got
real.
sliced in half, that was amazing.
Yeah, I was like, "Yo, this is because this is the game. This is why we play Mortal Kombat." Um,
Right,
and
right,
if and
right.
if you don't play if you've never played Mortal Kombat and you're watching this movie, you might think this is insane, but you have to go back to arcade games.
Oh,
You have to go
it gets
back.
worse
It gets really
in
bad.
the actual games. It gets much worse.
It gets a lot worse. So happy that you saw this, but yes, that Kung Lao, um, what is it? Face grind.
Yeah, the
That
face
was good.
grind fatality. Oh man, when he gave his like war cry to when it was happening and the blood was like squirting on his face, I was like, yes, this is awesome. This is
we
what we need.
we do sound like a bunch of psychos right now, Johnny.
Psycho.
But I mean,
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
Okay,
And they
next.
got, oh my gosh, when she split in half, they got all the organs to look so good. Oh my gosh.
And again, you might think that we're crazy, but that's actually something that happens
In
in
the
the game.
game.
In the games, they go in detail to see which organs come out of where and splash.
Right.
So yeah, so they did that quite well. You know what? I got some hints of Kill Bill in this movie,
It was
which
great.
I wouldn't have mind. Maybe they should have gone black and white for some scenes because it was a lot of blood, but yeah, it was pretty good. What else you got, my
It was
man?
great. The third fatality, I think it was Jax's on Reiko, which yeah, and it was Mortal Kombat. It was straight out of Mortal Kombat 2, the face clap
The face clap.
when he's just like, yeah. I thought he was gonna do the arm rip at first because that's also one of his fatalities for Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
2, but no, he just did the face clap. And I mean, it's it was cool to see, but it's even in the game, it's not that good
No, it's
compared to
not.
the other ones.
There's been
But
some
it was nice. It was
stupid.
nice to see.
There's been some stupid fatalities even in the games.
Oh no,
So
there's been really bad
there's
fatalities in the game.
oh I don't even want to
Let's
talk
not
about it. Let's not go
let's
there.
not forget Quan Chi's giraffe stretch neck from Mortal Kombat Deadly
Oh
Alliance.
my god, yes.
Oh
This
man.
has been some goofy stuff. Which other ones you got?
Right after that was Shang Tsung's fatality which is it's a new rendition of Soul Sucker that has
Yeah,
been appearing since Mortal Kombat 2, and he did it on Kung Lao. And I mean, it is what it is. It's the Soul Sucker
yeah.
fatality.
It explains itself.
uh,
What do you want to know?
right, right. It was kind of gross how his face was like deteriorating as he was doing it. So that was pretty great.
HBO Max. If
Um,
only you would have spent that much more money in CGI to have Reptile actually transform, we would have been much happier. I would have give you an 8 out of 10.
right. One of the new fatalities, which I was very, 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 very disappointed with, was Sonya's fatality, which was sometime right after that. Um, it wasn't. It was just a simple energy blast to Melina's chest, and that was it. It was.
Yeah.
It was not satisfying. It was pretty whack. Um, I don't know why they didn't just have her kiss of death fatality, which has
Hmm.
been her fatality since Mortal Kombat 1, and it's appeared on almost every game she's been in.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, it's
that they could have done better. HBO Max, you could have done so much better.
yeah, they did Melina and Sonya dirty for that one. That was bad.
Melina deserved better.
Um,
I'll say that.
she did.
Melina
Natara
deserved.
deserved better. Natara hasn't been seen since 2006, and she deserved better.
And she just came into this movie and it was like,
To get
I'm
killed.
Batgirl, just to go right into a face grind. Um, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Oh
So,
gosh.
you got any more
Anyways,
fatalities?
yeah, Liu Kang had his iconic dragon fatality, which we've seen a bunch of iterations of. This
Yeah.
is just the newest one. And again, it debuted in Mortal Kombat 2. Usually Liu Kang in the games will turn into the dragon himself,
Hmm.
but I was okay with him just
Yeah.
summoning the dragon,
More. It was more
a
real.
fire.
It was more real.
Right. It made more sense within the movie. It would have
Yeah.
just been like, what the heck? If he just turned into a dragon,
So it's like you're telling
it
me
would
this
have
guy could have turned into a dragon a long time ago and
this
just like
whole
killed everybody?
time.
Really? Okay. No, it makes sense.
Right.
Um,
Right,
I'll,
right. So,
I'll add something here, which wasn't a fatality, but I like that they did the bicycle kick with Liu Kang,
yes. Oh my, I was waiting for it
but
because,
they didn't do the
uh,
scream.
yeah,
They
I was
didn't do the
sad about
scream.
that. They didn't do the.
Yeah, they didn't do that, and I was like, man, we needed the turkey call, bro. Like
Yeah,
it
we
needed to
did,
happen
but
with the bicycle. But at least we got the bicycle kick. At least we got the bicycle kick.
yeah,
So
I was
I'm happy
happy.
with
I was
that.
happy about that. Um, and I think the very last fatality, surprisingly, I have to cut this in, but surprisingly, Sub-Zero didn't really have any fatalities. Like he killed people, but there
Yeah.
weren't like fatalities.
I
So that
the
was
one thing I noticed they did was the ice wall. Remember, there's the
that.
one move he does in the game where he does an ice wall and he just throws his opponents into the wall of
Oh
ice.
yeah, that
So
was great.
they did that. So I was like, okay, I'm happy with that. You know
Yeah,
what? I would have loved to
everyone.
seen the axe, the ice axe that he
Oh
usually
right,
does.
right. He
I
did
would have
make
loved to
the
seen
ice
that.
sword,
Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah.
so
Okay,
that
he
was
did that.
cool.
So, but I would have loved to see the ice axe because I had just played to hype myself for the movie. I had played MK,
Right,
and I did the move with the axe. So I
the
was
ice
like,
axe.
ah.
Yeah,
So I'm like, that would have been awesome.
yeah.
Alrighty.
I was surprised that that didn't show up. I'm also surprised that his classic like spine head rip with the spinal cord there was not in the movie. Was
Oh
that too
yeah.
violent? Was that too violent?
Maybe it
Because
was.
because in the reason, so fun fact, the reason why the MSRB system for video games even exists is because of that fatality. It was so violent
Yes.
that they had to create the MSRB system so that they could classify games like Mortal Kombat as mature audiences only.
So maybe that.
So
I think I'll be honest with you. This movie was borderline mature, just for mature audiences.
it, I
Because
feel like if they would have included that, that would
yes,
have put it to
yeah,
X
yeah, yeah.
rating
Because I
straight up.
mean, just with the Kung Lao's fatality, that was a little over the edge. I was like,
That
yo,
was a lot.
yeah, it was a
I
lot.
was
It was a
so
lot.
happy.
I was
They got away with it.
oh yeah,
They
yeah,
got away with it.
they got away with it. But I was like, yeah, if they had done the spine thing, yeah, it would have pushed. And
Oh
obviously
wow.
they weren't gonna do that because they want kids to go to the movies. Which
Right,
if
right.
you're listening to this and you're a parent, I don't know why you're letting your kid experience this much violence. Then again, I sound like a
No, no.
hypocrite playing the games as a teenager and as a little kid. But anyways,
Oh,
whatever. What can you do?
I grew up on Mortal Kombat. I
Exactly.
played Deadly Alliance when I was 4 years old.
Oh,
So
so I mean, it was a different time. It was a different time.
it was. I took off the blood.
Yep, it was a different time.
Oh man.
Any other fatalities that come to mind?
Yeah, the last fatality of the movie was Scorpion's iconic Toasty fatality, which
Yes.
originally debuted in the very first Mortal Kombat game. So that one, I mean, come on. If there was a Mortal Kombat movie with fatalities and they didn't put that one in, they'd, it they would get mobbed.
Yeah,
That
definitely. Definitely they
the
would have
only
got mobbed.
thing that I was a little sad didn't show up. Yes, it would have completely made no sense and it would have broken the movie and people would have memed it to eternity, but John Vogel's head didn't pop up at the bottom, at like the top right of this or the bottom right of the screen, and it wasn't like Tuffy.
Yeah. Yep,
I would
yep,
have,
yep, yep, yep.
I would have been so done if
Yeah.
they broke the fourth wall that way.
People would
But
have.
yeah,
I can already tell what you mean about the memes. People would have been like, "What is
yeah,
this? What is this movie? This movie
it
is
would have
crazy."
been too much. It would have been too much.
So this
So
brings
I am a
me.
little
Oh,
sad he wasn't there.
look. There's so many things that are missing from this movie, but I'm happy with what we got. So
Oh, 100%.
I'll say this for anyone listening: we're not trashing the movie. This is just
Oh no.
two fans that know the games, and we. This is what we want. Did you watch WandaVision, by the way?
Ah,
Okay,
yes.
so
I loved it.
I will
But
say this: all the stuff that we're missing from Mortal Kombat, it's like the Mephisto of the One Division. I'll just say it that. Okay,
right,
because
right.
that was such a big thing that was missing. So we were missing Johnny Cage, Katana. Um,
Mm.
I mean, who else were we missing in this movie that was important? Uh, Quincy. I can't say his name. The guy that
Quan
brought
Chi. You
Quan
know what?
Chi.
I don't like Quan Chi, to be honest.
I
So
would
I'm
still would
glad
have
he
liked.
wasn't in the movie.
I still would have liked to see him actually. A small cameo, small little cameo, just in the background. He's there. We know he's there. You know. Um. Oh, this brings me to this. Do you think we might see Titans later on? Because
uh,
MK11 brought the whole concept of
the Titan
Titans.
concept. Yeah, yeah.
So you think we
They were
might
the.
see?
I'm not. I don't think so. I'm gonna be real because that whole Titan concept. The next big bad, if they make a sequel, which we'll get into that later, but the next big bad is gonna be Shao Kahn.
Shao
Who
Kahn,
else
yeah.
is it gonna be? Who else is it gonna be? It has to be Shao Kahn.
Imagine
So
they pull the plug on that. And they're like, no, we're gonna go straight to Titans. That would totally like we
that
yeah, we will riot if
I
that
don't.
happens.
Yeah, that wouldn't be very good. I don't think they'll. I don't think they'll do that for the
No.
movies.
So
Uh,
before we get
yeah.
into that, so this brings me to the last segment of this podcast, and I've had so much fun talking to you about this. But here we go. Early theories for the sequel.
Uh, I honestly have no clue because this movie was just so far removed from the Mortal Kombat plots that we know and love. It was just so different on a fundamental level that I have
Yeah.
no idea where they're gonna go from here. The only thing that would be the safest bet is that they're gonna follow Mortal Kombat 2 story very loosely,
Hmm.
just like this one was Mortal Kombat, just very, very, very loose. Um, I think they're gonna go ahead and the second movie is gonna start off with uh Shang Tsung getting reprimanded by Shao Kahn, and then he, for his failure of, you know, not killing everyone so that he
Yeah.
could take over Earth realm. And I think it's gonna be Shang Tsung asking for one more chance, and he's gonna bring up the idea of calling a Mortal Kombat on Outworld's turf and directly challenging Earthrealm to come to their turf. And that way, Earthrealm has absolutely no way of declining. Like they
Yeah.
have to go because
They
those
have
are
to go.
the rules.
Yeah, 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 they have to go.
And
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
oh, yeah, and yeah, I from there it'll just do what it has to do, but I think that'll be the basic plot of Mortal Kombat 2 will be Mortal Kombat 2.
So I think that we will see yeah, same thing. Mortal Kombat 2 follow loosely. Um uh I don't know if we're going to have to keep up with young Cole in the
I
next
hope he
film.
dies. I hope he does not become the Mortal Kombat champion because
If they
that
take
will burn my
if
life.
if they take it away from either Johnny Cage or Liu Kang, I will be so pissed. I would be so pissed if they
Oh my
take
god.
it away from them just to give it to
I
him.
think they need to give young Cole n- a not so big role because I mean he unfortunately he's probably going to be the main character of this new franchise. So I think that he could still be the main character and Liu Kang can still be the champion of Mortal Kombat and it could still work. But I don't know, just introducing him causes a lot of issues. And I just I just hope he does not beat Shao Kahn or Shang Tsung. I hope that's still reserved for Liu Kang.
Oh man, I really want Raiden to have a bigger role in the next film,
He
please.
probably won't.
That's did you hear the excitement in my voice when I said those words? Because I know it will not happen. It's just not going to
Oh
happen.
man,
Um,
no.
but
We're hoping,
we're
but
okay. We're hoping for Katana to show up,
she has
please.
to show up. If they're gonna set it in Outworld, which they probably will,
Yeah,
I hope, like just judging on how Mortal Kombat works, she's gonna show up. She's gonna be evil. I hope she doesn't get killed, and that she's redeemed by the end of the movie.
that would be so lame if they kill her, man.
Or maybe, okay, I would be okay if she gets redeemed, like she's starting to fight for the good side, and then she's killed, and then it's like this whole tragic thing. Then I'll be totally okay with it.
Yeah.
But if she's just killed being evil, that's robbing us from so
Oh
much.
man, definitely. Okay, in my last theory, we're gonna definitely get Mortal Kombat next movie. We're
Oh,
definitely gonna
100%.
get the
That
tournament.
that's
It's
guaranteed.
enough. It's enough fooling around the concept of Mortal Kombat. We need to see Mortal Kombat, and I think
It's funny too because they mention the tournament constantly in this movie, and then there's no tournament.
since the
There's
beginning,
no tournament.
when we and I don't like the fact that they I didn't like it as much that they put Sonya Blade as like a conspiracy nut. Did you see that? Where she's got like
Oh
this
yeah, they did do that.
underground basement filled with like theories and like the little strings going to this point and to that point, just connecting dots of like what Mortal Kombat is. And then you talk
Right.
about is she constantly talking about a tournament, and then we get Liu Kang talking about, okay, we gotta get ready for the tournament, and
And
like
then there's no tournament.
and there's no tournament. We get a preview to the tournament, which was okay, I guess, but we get no tournament, and so um they better have Mortal Kombat. I mean, I don't know if, and let's say this, if they don't have Mortal Kombat, what would be a good explanation for them not to have Mortal Kombat?
uh, if they skipped right to the plot of Mortal Kombat 3, which is the invasion of Earthrealm, just Shao Kahn's direct invasion,
Yeah.
uh, then honestly they can still. I'm still thinking for Katana, but they could still work her story out in that respect because she could still start out evil, and then she can find out about her actual ancestry, which is what happens in the real game. And then the whole plot of Mortal Kombat 3 is Shao Kahn resurrects Sindel because he's in
Mm,
Earthrealm, and
yeah.
that way he's able to invade Earthrealm because he kind of like has a loophole on the rules
Hmm.
because in the Elder Gods rules he cannot invade Earthrealm, but because she's there and because he's reclaiming his wife, he gets full access to Earthrealm and he gets to invade it. So I think if they don't do the plot of Mortal Kombat 2, they could just go right into Mortal Kombat 3, and it could still work. If they don't want to do a tournament, it could still work.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit at peace if they don't do an actual tournament. But okay, HBO Max, listen to us. We know better than y'all. You need to have you need to have more to combat. By the way, Jonathan and I, we're available if you want writers for the next movie. Just letting you know that we will kill young Cole. Okay, all right.
We will.
Hashtag not my captain. Oh wait, wrong podcast, wrong
Oh no,
episode. Um,
not my Liu Kang.
and hashtag now my yes, definitely hashtag now my Luke
Oh
Cage. I'm
god.
still so mad that they did him dirty like that. You know he oh, man,
I
I
think he did
just
an amazing job though. That was a very good actor for Liu
you know
Kang.
he
I think
was
everyone was on roll, on spot.
okay,
Everyone was really
and
good.
I think we missed that talking about because we got so excited about talking about the characters, but every actor nailed it.
They did very well.
They
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 did
nailed
very
their
well.
parts.
They were their characters.
They were definitely even the actor that played Jax. He had the deep voice that goes with
They were great.
Jax, and
Oh
so
my gosh, I just realized something. I was so disappointed that Jackson never used his gotcha special move, the gotcha. He never used that.
oh
And I was like,
dang.
I was expecting it the whole time because that's like his most iconic
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
special
yeah, yeah,
move
yeah.
is the ground pound
The ground
and
pound gotcha.
gotcha.
Gone, gone,
And
gone.
he didn't use any of
Dude,
them.
he did it. That's so true. Oh my god. Okay, so I mean, I'm sure that as we go on, obviously they're not gonna use the same fatalities they use in this movie. I'm
Right.
sure that
They
they're
they
gonna,
can't. They
they
can't.
can't. No, that'd be lame. So I'm sure that they're gonna, you know, I think I think, and this is towards the end of the episode of this podcast, but one of the things that dragged the episode, the show. I'm sorry, I'm so tired.
The film.
The film so much was the fact that they seem like they were inexperienced fighters, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I mean, even young Cole, he's supposed to be a great fighter, but then he's just lame when he comes to fighting all these other people. And regardless if they had powers or not, they should have stood their ground a little better, in my opinion, because Jax and Sonya Blade, they are special forces. They're they're
Yeah,
they're they're
their
just not
army.
anybody. They're army. They're special forces. They're the best trained soldiers.
Right.
And then you have Liu Kang, who studied right under Raiden. So he's supposed
Right.
to
Raiden
be
and Boraicho. He's
he's
supposed to
supposed to
be
be
insane.
insane. Those are just three, right? And then Kano's supposed to be a badass too. And then they just get their butts kicked so easily. Um,
That was the thing I noticed is that they talk about Kano being a badass, but like I don't think he wins one fight in the whole movie because he gets
no,
beat up by
he
Sonya
doesn't.
and then he gets beat up by Kung Lao and then he gets beat up in the end by Sonya again.
So I
So
guess that goes with his character arc that he's inconsistent, even at,
it's
even at keeping loyalties because he sold out so quickly. He sold out
but that you
so
know
quickly.
but that's who Kano is. So I was
Oh no, no,
happy that
yeah,
happened.
I was expecting it in a bigger way, but
Okay.
he was just like, look, you're gonna be rich, you're gonna have all the stuff you ever wanted. Okay, let's sign up. Like, no, dude, give me some proof. Hand me a deposit beforehand so that I know you're
That
you're
is
not fooling me
true.
around.
That
So
is true.
he just
Usually in the games, Kano will take his pay before he does anything.
exactly. So he just took
So
a
that
blank
is
check.
true.
He didn't even ask. He's like, yep, let's do it.
All
Um,
right, Sonya wasn't even gonna pay him.
no,
Do you see where she lives?
she did not have that $3 million. She did not have.
She did
So,
not.
um, this brings us to the end of the podcast. We've had an amazing time, Johnny. Right before we leave, anything else you want to add? Some last words, some last thoughts on Mortal Kombat.
Um, it it's definitely a good film. I can definitely say that it's a good film, both as an adaptation, as something for the fans, and for the general audience. I think that overall it's a really solid movie. Again, there are some things from the plot that are drained from other pieces of the plot. Uh, but overall, it's a pretty entertaining movie. It's popcorn entertainment, and that's what you're there for Mortal Kombat. You're not there for, although in the games there are deeper plots and deeper tones and themes. I mean, for this movie, you're there to have a good time and eat some popcorn and drink
Yeah.
some soda, and you'll have a good time. And I think definitely it's something to be watched. It's pretty good.
And my last words about this is go watch it. If you have HBO Max,
Yeah,
watch it.
go watch it.
Um,
Watch it.
don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes because I saw a lot of people on Twitter getting discouraged from watching the movie because of the Rotten Tomato um,
Really? I haven't
reviews.
checked.
And it was really bad. It was like at 50 something the last time I
Oh
checked.
goodness.
So I would say this: if don't ever listen to Rotten Tomatoes because these people just murder films on the littlest things. If you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, go watch it. You need to watch this. We've waited way too many. We waited over what, almost 20 years to see a film on Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
So go
it's been a
watch it.
while.
It's been a long time. So go watch it. Have fun. Watch the film, and let's hope for the best for the sequel. So
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we can start a petition and we can get young Cole out of this franchise as
just
soon as possible.
write them out. Write them out.
Oh gosh, if he becomes a character in the games, oh
Oh
no.
no. He
Now.
he's a special guest. Like
That'd be terrible.
no, I mean we've had so much iconic guest characters in Mortal Kombat, God of War, Terminator,
Right.
Rambo,
Alien
the Joker,
Predator.
Alien Predator.
This random dude.
Hey, look, it's Aquaman. Aquaman showed up.
Oh,
Asian Aquaman showed up in this film.
oh man.
No,
He
okay,
was
yeah,
and no hate to the actor because I think he did very good with what he was given.
yeah,
It's
no,
just
yeah,
they could
definitely,
have casted him as another character and he would have done just as well.
just as well,
If
yeah.
they just changed the character to Takeda Takahashi, it would have been way better.
Like I said, or maybe if they would have just Scorpion's spirit, you know, live in him at some point, that would have
Right,
made more
right.
sense. I think this might make the conversation a little longer. We were trying to finish, but um, I don't know if you ever saw those old movies, American Ninja. Like they're super old and
uh,
they're super
no,
goofy,
no.
and so I think they're like late '80s karate movies, and they're like they made three movies of this, and it's like this. There's this. The whole point is that there's this ninja who he's like very psychotic and he's a killer, and he's on the loose
Mhm.
in L.A. And someone kills him, and his spirit goes into somebody, and he just haunts people, and then this person turns into a ninja because of the
Oh man,
spirit
I
that
love
lives in him.
that.
So it's
So
dude, it's a very goofy movie, but I was like that would have been a
very
lot better.
campy.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better for young Cole's uh character. But
Right.
regardless, don't listen to us. Just go watch the movie. just
Yeah,
just just go watch it. Enjoy it.
have some fun. Watch the movie. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. Go watch the movie. And with that being said, thank you so much for joining us for the sixth episode of the In Between podcast. So I'll see you guys later. Remember, I always tell you guys, be safe, find an opportunity to be kind to somebody, and just be good. Jonathan, thank you for joining the podcast, man. I'll talk
Thank
to you
you very
later.
much for having me.
Nah, thank you, man. And peace out, everybody. Take care.
Bye.